I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to today's agenda meeting where we will review the action items which will be formally addressed next Tuesday evening, December 5th at 6 p.m. And that'll be the day following the Christmas parade, which will be on Monday evening. I believe that starts at 6:30 on next Monday, December 5, and next December 4th. I'm sorry, trying to confuse everybody. December 4th. So I'll call upon Mr. Bill Burrow to review those action items that will be again formally addressed next Tuesday, December 5th, here at City Hall at 6 p.m. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor. You will have a couple of guests at that meeting. Hot Springs Friends of the Park will be here to present a donation to the city, as well as Gary Troutman, President and CEO of Greater Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce, and Metro Partnership will be here to provide his economic development report. And then entering into your consent agenda, the first item is Resolution R23-197, a resolution acknowledging receipt of the City of Hot Springs financial statements for October 2023, and our Finance Director, Karen Scott, will discuss.
Good afternoon. As you know, the monthly financial statements are issued to keep city management and constituents apprised of the financial condition of the City of Hot Springs. The October 2023 statements will be provided as an attachment to your board action request, and staff recommends acknowledging receipt of the October 2023 financial statements.
Any questions of Ms. Scott? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Resolution R23-198, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles pursuant to the State of Arkansas Cooperative Purchasing Program and approving a budget amendment. And Chief Harvington is here to present the item.
Thank you. During 2023, the Hot Springs Police Department suffered the loss of 7 vehicles that were deemed a total loss from June hailstorms and or from other accidents. This is a substantial loss to HSPD that has impacted the regular patrol functions of the department. The city recently received insurance proceeds from some of the above mentioned losses. Hot Springs Police Department recommends transferring $87,960 from the insurance recovery account to the capital expenditure account to immediately purchase 2 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs. The remainder of the damaged vehicles will be replaced in 2024. The 2 vehicles can be purchased from Smart Ford in Malvern pursuant to the state vehicle contract. By purchasing these 2 vehicles now, we will receive the 2023 state contract pricing and a cost savings of approximately $8,871 over the 24 prices for the same vehicles. Furthermore, by purchasing these 2 Fords, we will be able to use existing equipment from other inoperable vehicles to equip them, thus saving additional funds. The Hot Springs Police Department respectfully requests the Board of Directors consider this resolution approving the transfer of these funds from the insurance recovery account into the capital expenditure account and the immediate purchase of 2 Ford Police Interceptor SUVs via the state purchasing contract established by Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Chief Harvington? Yes, Steve, Director Trustee.
It's all right. Chief, what are these? They're Ford SUVs, or are they Explorers?
They call them Interceptors. That's the contract term, but they're basically Explorers with a.
They're the mid-size. Yeah.
They'll be marked marked police units.
Okay.
Black and whites.
Great. Thank you.
Director Beard.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The 2 vehicles that are being replaced, will those go to auction, or what will happen to those?
I'm sure they will end up going to auction. They are deemed a total loss.
Okay.
Chief, did I hear you correct? You're actually buying these from a dealership in Malvern, Arkansas?
Yes, sir. Smart Ford has the state contract, so that's where we get our state contract vehicles through them.
Okay. And so they're readily available?
They have them available now. Yes, sir.
Any additional questions? Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, are the 2 vehicles that these 2 new ones would replace, would those be old Interceptors as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Director Trustee?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Didn't you say you lost 7, though?
Yes, sir.
We're just replacing 2 now, and the rest of them will be replaced in 24?
Yeah, we also have some that we're waiting on now that were 23 purchases.
Okay.
We have 9 that are on the line being outfitted right now.
Okay.
We're just waiting on them to get the rest of their emergency equipment installed, and we'll have those coming online as well. So we're just kind of making do right now with what we have.
Okay. And you said those are readily available at Smart Forward. Do we need to put a deposit on them?
They've already
I'm
given
sure
us,
others are doing.
I believe
same
they're
thing.
kind of holding them for us. They
Okay.
know that we're in this process, and they've already given us the official state quotes, and
Okay.
we're already in the process with them. So.
All right. Thank you.
Any further questions of Chief? Hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have considered resolution R 23-199, a resolution confirming the appointment of Michael Toohey to the Hot Springs Housing Authority Board of Commissioners, and our city clerk Harmony Morrissey will present.
Thank you. The Board of Commissioners of the Housing Authority has 5 commissioners who each serve 5-year terms. Their terms are staggered so that one expires every year. Position 2 is currently held by Mr. Mike Toohey and expires this year. At their regularly scheduled November 20th meeting, the Housing Authority Commissioners voted to reappoint Mr. Toohey to position 2 for a full term. So pursuant to state law, the City Board of Directors must ratify that appointment.
Any questions of Ms. Harmony Morrissey? Director Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Can you explain what it means to ratify this appointment? And were there other applicants? Can we get the other applicants? This may have been advertised that they were seeking applications in the paper. I missed seeing it.
They could have advertised that. I don't have that information. I can ask them to send that. What they typically do is send their resolution from their meeting. So I don't have the code section in front of me, but I believe that the Arkansas Code states that the appointment is made by the commissioners and it's ratified by the board. So they make the appointment, and then you basically put your stamp of approval on that.
But what does that mean? What is the responsibilities of ratification mean? Are we, there was a lot of publicity recently in Little Rock Housing Authority, and in the past, we've had some issues here several years ago, and I want to make sure that I'm fulfilling my responsibility when I say I ratify it. When we approve them from the A&P Commission, we know the list of applicants, we have their financial statements. I've not seen any financial statements or audit from the Housing Authority. Can we obtain that information and any other reports of oversight?
I'm happy to get some additional information. I don't know if the best thing to do would be to move this to new business and allow us to put that in your packet and then have some people hear from the Housing
I
Authority.
think it may be appropriate to go ahead and bump this to the next meeting so that we have the information that you're seeking. Do you know when this term expires?
The term actually expired in August.
Okay.
They just made the appointment at their November meeting.
Okay. So another meeting won't hurt. Why don't we move it to the second meeting in December? And we'll try to have that information, in particular, whether or not there was notice of the open position and if there were other applicants.
Yes. And maybe you could provide when the board ratifies this,
Sure.
when we even appoint someone to our advisory committees, we have interviews and a selection process. I don't know what ratification
This is-
definition
sure.
means as my responsibility.
This is much more like the A&P, for example. Other than the board-appointed positions, those nominations come to us from the A&P Commission itself. But yeah,
But they provide
let's
us
put
with
that.
applicants,
They
we
do.
get their financial statements, we have a lot more information.
That is true.
From the A&P and than I have for the Housing Authority. Not that there's anything, but I just want to make
Right.
sure that I'm confident in everything.
let's move it to the second meeting of December, if
Is
that's
that okay with the, thank you.
Definitely.
Very good. Thank you.
Next, we have considered resolution R 23-200, a resolution acknowledging Hot Springs Housing Strategy November 2023, prepared by RKG Associates Incorporated, and our Planning and Development Director, Ms. Kathy Salmon, will discuss.
Thank you. The housing strategy was both a 2022 and 2023 Board of Directors goal. This strategy will assist the board in annually determining specific actions that improve housing access for Hot Springs residents. This is the strategy that was presented to the board by Mr. Russell Archambault on July 25th, 2023. The major changes that have been made since that time consist of formatting of tables and some editing of just English language. The acknowledgement by the board commits neither funding nor policy support for individual strategy components. The strategy provides detailed demographic data about housing in Hot Springs at a point in time. Implementation will occur through annual board budget approval of specific individual activities. The housing strategy and its implementation count as an activity toward improving housing in our upcoming analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, a mandatory activity for CDBG entitlement communities.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. In our packet, will we receive this updated
Yep.
report with the format
Certainly will.
changes?
Every word.
And if there is any, before we move along on implementation, any changes for the implementation plan could be made.
Implementation in this, if I'm understanding what you're asking, and I may not be, there is an implementation strategy component to this document. However, decisions by the board will be individually specific to projects as the next year's budgets come to you. So while there is a suggested strategic approach, it will be the board's decision at future budgets as to how those things are implemented.
It's a 10-year plan.
It is a 10-year plan, yes.
And so we as a board would prioritize with the, as we did with the 2040 plan, how over time, what the priorities are.
Yes, each year you can do that.
We do have funds in the budget that you approved for 2024 to set up a land bank. I think we had 60,000 in there.
Yes.
We'll probably need some outside legal advice through a city attorney's office to help us set that up. But we've talked about that for several
Right.
years. So that's one of the things that was part of the implementation of the plan that we do have in your 24 budget.
Yes.
And that's been a big interest for the several years, as you mentioned. And at the conference, NLC, I attended as many housing accessibility courses and workshop on land banks. And do you want a land bank or a land trust? They're two separate things, or do you need both? And those are some materials I'd like us to consider and get advice on which way, or do we implement in the implementation, do we need to set up both? Because one guarantees that will always be used for housing and can't go to be used for anything else. So I found that, and they had different wordings to be aware of, and how the ordinances are adopted, that I found worth studying.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Director Trustee?
Mayor, not for you, Kathy, but Bill, what else is in the budget for next year besides the land bank? I know about the land bank. Is there anything else from this strategy that's in next year's budget?
Not specific.
Okay.
We do have some staff time that we'll have down in the planning department. As far as additional planners, I think we do have
Yes.
have that in there, but
Right.
we need to kind of get this land bank rolling. That was one of the first things I had
Okay.
in the list. I think that'll help us kind of guide us as we start moving forward on how we're going to impact affordable housing through this strategy. It is a very comprehensive strategy with a
Yes,
lot of
yes.
moving parts. It's going to be extremely expensive as we move through these next 10 years if we implement the entire plan. But I think that's one of the reasons we took on the either land bank or land trust, whichever it may be. And as we talk with council and look at those, I think we'll be able to bring something back to the board. But that's kind of the initial step, I think, that we all discussed that was probably where we needed to go on our first pass. I have had the IS department as well. Several years ago, we looked at city-owned properties and city-owned vacant properties, and I've asked them to update that. So we've got a new GIS layer that we can use internally that shows all of those properties,
Good.
and what they may be used for in the future, whether that's affordable housing or something else. But I think it'll be a good first step into that land bank trust scenario.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any following questions? Thank you.
Next, we have consider resolution R-23-201, a resolution awarding a contract to Bill's Fence Company, Inc. for the repair and replacement of certain fencing at Kimry Park, and that is no relation to this bill.
The fencing surrounding the softball and baseball fields at Kimry that's worn in several areas and in need of repair and replacement. The change would make for safer play and better viewing for the spectators. Bill's Fence was the only bidder on this contract, and the contracted amount is $87,940. Two people showed up to the pre-bid meeting, and Bill's was the only one to bid this.
Any questions on this topic? Director Trustee.
Sorry. Thank you, Mayor. You said repair and replacement. Are we actually doing both? Are we just replacing the whole thing? Or
Both,
what?
yes. So we're using some pre-existing posts and replacing the fencing,
Okay.
and then top rails and everything as well. We'll try to reuse what we can.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You'll see in your packet, there's a breakdown on each field.
Okay.
As to what's being proposed for each one.
Very good. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Next, we have consider resolution R-23-202, a resolution extending an agreement with Hope Works Job Experience Program for certain employment opportunities and for other purposes. And Lance, or you, Samantha, going to do this?
I'll handle this one. Thank you, Bill. This is one of our newer initiatives, but it's hard to believe this is the fourth year of the Hope Works Job Experience Program. This is a contract for services. The funding comes out of the solid waste department. Funding amount is $100,000. It's stayed the same throughout the program. What it is in the contract for services, they help supplement our litter abatement program. So the client participants of Hope Works usually are traveling along the state highways. So we're talking about Malvern Avenue, Albert Pike. Usually the interchanges on the expressway are prone for lots of litter. Anytime somebody stops their car, sometimes you don't even have to stop, but it's a lot of litter that accumulates there in those interchanges. So that's what these program participants are doing. They are paid a daily wage, minimum wage, for up to 4 hours of work. And there is additionally a supervisor that essentially is the boss of the group, drives the van, picks them up, makes sure, gets them to the job site. That is determined by the solid waste director so that it coordinates real well with our existing litter program. And really from that standpoint, that's one part of the program. The other part is some of the client management that Jackson House provides. Really kind of helps them get, obviously gets them a meal, but also kind of talks to the individuals and sees exactly kind of what their goals are. If they're looking for an identification, they're looking to get in touch with VA, some type of benefits. So it really kind of has two components, but particularly this one that we're talking about is the $100,000 contract for services with Hope Works. And that is a It's a separate entity of Jackson House, but it is, Janie Smith is directly involved with HopeWorks. And in your packet, it'll have the board membership roster as well as the client participation list. I think year to date, we're at just under 200 participants through November. All work varying days throughout the year, throughout the month. But really, it's a positive program. We're happy to present it to you all for consideration.
Any questions of Mr. Spicer?
Thanks.
Thank you.
And next is your only item of new business. It's ordinance 2326, an ordinance granting a franchise agreement for the operation of a specialty transit service to Ramsey H. Zimmerman, doing business as Hot Springs Horse Memories. And again, our city clerk, Ms. Morrissey, will address it.
Thank you. So the Hot Springs Transportation Code Specialty Transit section authorizes the board to grant a franchise for specialty transit services defined as vehicles drawn by horse, mule, animal, or other novelty type vehicle to operate for the purpose of transporting passengers for hire along specified routes, provided the duration, terms, franchise fees, rates, insurance, conditions, and procedures for granting and operating such franchise are clearly stated in the agreement and are fair, reasonable, and in the public interest as determined by the Board of Directors. The applicant is Mr. Ramsey Zimmerman, who has applied for a permit to operate a horse-drawn carriage business in Hot Springs. According to his application, he is a jockey here at Oaklawn and has a horse-drawn carriage business in Iowa. He has included photos of some of his horses in Iowa. As proposed in his application, his company Hot Springs Horse Memories would operate similarly to the current horse-drawn carriage operation. The differences that he has requested would be in his hours of operation. He requested to operate from 9 a.m. until midnight, up to 7 days per week. He plans to operate one carriage, but has asked to permit up to 6. He states he does not foresee moving more than one carriage from Iowa to Arkansas, but would like to have his fleet approved if circumstances change. This is a similar request as the current permittee, who is authorized to operate up to 7 carriages, but often does not get anywhere near that. Also, his proposed set fee would be $45 per couple and no charge for children. It's a little bit different fee schedule than the current operator. The route would be the same as the current provider. So a draft of a franchise agreement has been in the works. However, there is some information that has come to light since the drafting of the agreement. The information that has come to light since he applied is that the driver's license he offered is a Florida driver's license that has been suspended, and he does not hold a current valid Arkansas license. Additionally, there are some recent police incident reports that have to do with the applicant and the proposed transportation for hire business. We do have Sergeant Williams here, who has had some interaction with the applicant and has provided some of the information. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer questions, and Sergeant Williams is also here.
Well, with regard to this application, I think the merits of his application are better served at the hearing next week before the board under new business.
Will the officer be
The officer will be here at the meeting.
No.
No?
Sergeant Williams is going to be out of town, so he's come today.
We have a written report.
We'll have a written report. Okay.
I've seen a small horse-drawn, I don't even know what you call it. It didn't look like a carriage to me, but I want to say the horse-drawn rickshaw or whatever.
It's a chariot.
It's like a buggy. It's like a harness racing.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Harness racing.
Oh.
But that may not be what he's proposing for the.
So the way the code works is the franchise agreement would precede any inspection of a carriage. So he hasn't presented an actual carriage to Hot Springs Police Department to inspect. He has submitted his application, and we're bringing it to you for your consideration.
Has it been in operation? I mean, I've seen.
He has not been permitted or licensed to operate such a specialty transit as of yet. That would come if the board were to award a franchise, which you can decide at your business meeting next week.
All right, understood.
I have a question.
Director Holliday.
We don't get a lot of franchise agreements where we have something already in operation. Usually it's something new, at least
No-
since I've been here.
Non-exclusive?
Right. And so is that supposed to factor into our,
Need is no longer a factor under our transportation code. Years ago, there were a finite number of licenses that were available. That's why you had yellow ducks and white ducks that took up 2 permits. That has been eliminated from the code. I will tell you that our transportation code is in need of much work. This particular category of permit or franchise for specialty transit is the only one that comes directly to the board. The others go through the Transportation Advisory Committee first. That's issue number 1. All of them should have to fall under the same rules and guidelines. We will work on that. But as to the merits of his application, the applicant is not here. I would much prefer that the board wait until your business meeting to discuss the terms of the application.
oh, it's just more what, as we read the packet, what are the things that we should, if that was something that should or should not be considered,
Yes, well, thank you for that question then. Need has been eliminated from your transportation code some years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Will he be?
Director Beard.
Did you say if he will be here next week?
If the applicant is not present at your meeting next week, I would expect your discussion to be very brief.
So is that a yes?
He has been notified to attend
Okay.
at the meeting at which his application will be considered for approval or denial.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Inside of our packet, will the routes be shared with us? But we're talking about the horse and the carriage potentially riding on a city street,
Yes.
correct? Where traffic is flowing? Okay, thank you.
They are.
Yes, I know one does, but this one.
Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. Did you say he was a jockey at Oakland?
He has indicated that, yes.
Okay, so will there be races going down Central Avenue if they're traveling the same route?
That was not in the application.
Competition amongst the
Buggy
thieves?
races.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
All right, well, I think that closes this topic. Do we have anything else, Bill?
Mayor, there are no other items for your December 5th meeting.
Okay, well, we do have a work session immediately following, so we'll change over and start promptly. So thank you.
I'm gonna go get a call.